The Taco Bell
As
thing,
per usual. Yeah.
I do want to say about Taco Bell and their app. Taco Bell, if this makes the show and they're listening, please stop emailing me my rewards like breakdown at the end of the month. I feel bad enough that I have an app to get free Chalupa Supremes.
Every single time you go, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how it works out with me, too.
Yeah, because I eat Taco Bell that much. So, like, please, Taco Bell, stop at the end of the month being like, hey, do you want to know how fat you were this month? Here's a breakdown of all the points you earned from being fat. This was especially a fat day. Please stop doing this. I don't want. It's like reverse Fitbit. It's like they're tracking instead of tracking steps. Fatbit. I'll pay for Fatbit. I don't want to track my steps. I want to track just how fat I was today.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zach Ryan with Old Man Gaming.
What just happened?
Faked you out. With me, you, dear listener, have chosen whatever reason to listen to another horrible gaming podcast. With me, I am not alone, nor usually I am never alone. With me is...
Struggling. This is what a week off does.
I'm rough. It was not. It was a week off from the podcast.
From the podcast,
It's a very stressful week for your boy Zach. So more stressful for other people that I know. But yeah, I am. Oof. So yeah. The person making fun of me, say your name.
As always, that is Neil, aka Tiny Wizard.
Yeah. So guys, we got a podcast for you today. Before we get into that, of course, we're gonna do credits. But before we get into credits, I'm going to be doing a little public service announcement here, guys. So just prepare yourself for this little section. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but my mental health for this podcast has gone in the fucking crapper. With that being said, it has been very hard for me to come down here and do the podcast, a thing that I love, when we report about nothing but criminals and ne'er-do-wells taking our hard-earned money, getting away with crimes, while producing shit after shit after shit quality game for us to pay more and more money for, which actually makes me mad at the consumers, which I never thought I'd be, for giving them money for it. It's a terrible death spiral that I have been in for some time now. This has caused me to really reevaluate the kind of stuff that I need to do on this channel and do with this stuff. And I know all of you are now shaking in your boots like, is he about to cancel the podcast? I am not going to cancel the podcast. However, some things need to change for me to be able to do it again. I need to have fun with this again. I have been doing this long enough now to see the full scope of what's going on and to understand it, and it absolutely scares, disappoints, and saddens me to the core. So to come down here and do a 2-hour show where I have to remember that and talk about it over and over again it's started to become like a torture. So here's what we're going to do. We're changing up the formula for the podcast just slightly. Number one, our talking point will no longer be news-centric stories. I know this might upset some of you. I don't know, but I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. I can't talk about rapists and sycophants for an hour every week. I just can't. I can't do it. So what we're instead going to do is our talking point is going to be something more fun, something more reminiscent, a conversation about gaming. I'm not saying I won't get into it, not saying I won't get ranty on it, but overall it is going to be something maybe we're excited about. We're still going to be kind of current, but like tonight, today, our topic is going to be best DLC ever, and we're going to discuss that. Those kind of topics are what you're going to be seeing from the talking points from now on, whereas Odds and Ends, our third segment, will no longer be referred to as Odds and Ends. It will now be referred to as the news. And what we're going to do there is we are going to do Odds and Ends, but that's where we're going to focus on our news-centric stories. We're going to spend less time on the big terrible stories. And hopefully that improves my mental health for doing this podcast. And I'm sorry, everybody out there, if you're upset or whatever, but, you know, I got to make it something for me to be able to do it. So with that being said, that's going to be the show moving forward. You can still expect us every week. Nothing else is changing, with the exception of our vacation is going to get real complex. But
yes, it is.
Since
yes,
they are very overlapping. But
yes, they are.
But yeah, that's what you could expect from the show from here on out. I am sorry if that sucks, because I know a lot of people come here for the news. We will still have news. We will still talk about it. It's just we're not going to spend 45 minutes
bitching about the same thing endlessly.
Yeah, really, and that's what it is. And I literally can't do it anymore, because being in gaming right now feels like, to me, beating my head against the wall over and over again. No matter how good anything is, it feels like nothing ever really changes, and when it does change, it gets worse. So just being part of gaming, in the gaming space, this place that I have loved for most of my life, now feels like me just beating my head against a wall. And you know what makes that worse is every week coming down here and verbally beating my head against a wall, and I just can't do it. Everybody noticed my outburst last podcast towards you. I'm not going to necessarily say that I don't agree with the things that I was saying at the time, but I shouldn't have been that mad about it. I shouldn't have been that upset. And that just comes from this feeling. And I did apologize to you. I put it in the opening so that everybody could hear it. I shouldn't have,
name of the episode.
I shouldn't have yelled at you for it. But I mean, that comes from a very real place of sadness, disappointment, anger. And unfortunately, when you do that shit to yourself, it ends up coming out at the only other person who's on the podcast, which is you. And I don't like doing that. So, like, I don't know. It's just, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, when you mentioned this to me, too, I actually kind of responded with the feeling about this. I actually kind of like this now, because I felt like sometimes, depending on what we talked about, we felt the need to talk more about the thing if we already kind of said what we needed to say.
Which makes it worse.
Right,
yeah.
Which absolutely can make it worse. So, I mean, we talk about a light thing. I mean, I most certainly, I'm not going to completely avoid the bullshit, as it were. But it's definitely one of those things to where we can, like, wow, that's fucking stupid. Here's why, X, Y, and Z. Spend 3 minutes on it tops, and then move on to another one.
Well, and it's not like I'm not going to rant or be upset about things. It's just...
Oh, don't worry, you're getting the same shit.
And it's not even just like us trying to talk about the same thing over and over. It's also when you know you can spend that much time on things, your brain starts to take it to worse and worse and worse and worse places, because there's no cutoff. You know what I mean? Right. So, like, it's not even just like, oh, I need to find more things to say. It's more like, and another thing. And then it gets so negative so fast, and I don't like that. I've said it repeatedly. If you listen to this podcast from the very, very beginning, it's like, it could also be called "Watch the Death of Hope in One Man" for a gaming industry, because you could just watch how happy and plucky I am in the beginning, and to what I am now. It depresses me.
It's funny you bring that up too, because I remember, I think it was Kev is the one that would always say it. Like, when we first started doing it, it was very much, yes, I do agree. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And like, we were on the same page with everything. And then we had one episode where we were on complete opposite ends of a spectrum. Mm-hmm. And then from there, he was like crying for more blood, basically.
The fighting.
It's evolved a little bit, but yeah, it definitely it definitely is a good thing to step away, to not focus all of the attention on something like that. Just because, I mean, aside from the broken record thing, it does suck to have to try to talk about something for a certain period of time. And I also feel like sometimes we would gate ourselves into, like, this is exactly how long we need to talk about things.
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree with that. And to even add more to it, like gaming as a whole, I've become disillusioned with a lot of it. Like, I'm still a gamer, guys. I'm still playing games, but like most recently, like, I don't do reviews anymore because like it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare to go out and find these games that you were been waiting for, that you've been hoping for, and then they're nightmares. You know, our Redfall show is actually doing decent, which actually makes me sad because I was kind of hoping I could cancel it. Not because I don't, and hear me out, not because I don't love playing with you and Kayla. I absolutely worship playing with you and Kayla. It's one of the things I look forward to. That game is such a like dagger into my fucking beating heart. It is literally the physical representation of everything wrong with gaming. Like from just about every angle that you look at it. It takes up 80 gigs on my fucking hard drive, which is very limited for me to play with you guys, and it is a broken fucking experience. It almost made me sad going back and watching the first 2 episodes because I'm like, man, I don't know if you watched them and saw the kind of bugs that I was dealing with, but they're fucking nightmares. It is. Yeah. It's physically hard to play that game. If I was not playing it with the joys that are you two playing, it would not. It would hold no water for me. And it's just like that kind of stuff, like gaming as a whole. Like, I am really into a couple of games. I'm very into them, but like gaming as a whole, I've become very disillusioned with it over the last especially the last year, and it makes it very hard for me to like just be reminded about how shitty it is every week, you know? So all right, let's get the credits done. We're going to get into the show now, but I just want everybody to know the format going forward because we are a very honest podcast, if nothing else. Thanking the people that made this possible, other than us. Behind our ugly mugs, you will see a custom picture that was provided by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And then, of course, the theme song for this show and all shows here on Old Man Gaming is provided by the man who makes the music, my brother Nick Van Sliders. We thank him for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back for fan interaction.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, it brings us to our first segment, our most important segment, Fan Interaction. That's where we, the co-hosts, talk to you guys, the fans. Obviously, we took a week off there. Sorry about that. That was actually not the fault of Neil or anybody. It was me. I have streamed through COVID. I have streamed through strep throat. I could not stream through the aftermath of a little girl's slumber party. There it is. There it is. So, that being said, let's get into your comments. Starting us off, Asylum66, vacation can't come soon enough. Would like to thank Tiny Wizard for being there and letting Old Man rage for my enjoyment. Thank you, aka Tiny Wizard. Yes.
I am nothing if not a verbal punching bag.
You're more than a verbal punching bag. I did go off. I
joke.
Of all the rants that I've had on you, that was the worst, and that was the one that I was like, I gotta do something. I can't just keep coming down here once a week and screaming at this man. And then calling him my friend. Like, that's a nightmare. I should be paying him for scream therapy at this point. But yeah, so Jason jumps in. I grew up in the age of cyberpunk. ChatGPT and its siblings and progeny will evolve into the overlord of Earth. Not going to disagree.
Everything, I mean, this is kind of outside of the bounds of what we really cover on the podcast at this point, but the amount of shit that has ChatGPT or like a large language model built into it now, everything from Bing to Snapchat to everything's got its own freaking AI now. It's like NFTs were when that was like the big thing.
Yeah, it is. I do think there's more staying power with the ChatGPT, unfortunately, in the AI. And I do wonder where we're going, because aside from the Overlord thing, Because you could say what you want about where AI is going to go and what it's going to do to us once it becomes like once the singularity hits or whatever. It's this weird place of like we were talking about it on the last show. Like, where is creativity manufactured? You know what I mean? Where does your creativity cease to be a part of it? And that makes me very scared for that part of it. But moving on, Jason, another quote from Demolition Man, if I recall correctly. I woke up on my Taco Bell bed, ate my Taco Bell Fruit Loops, brushed my teeth with my Taco Bell toothpaste, went to work at Taco Bell box store in my Taco Bell Explorer, and downed myself in the Taco Bell toilet with a Taco Bell water because my Taco Bell life sucks. I'm not sure if that's Demolition Man. That might be something else, but Taco Bell, baby. Taco Bell.
Well, you know what? Since we're talking about Taco Bell, since we're talking about Taco Bell, a sidebar on this.
Okay.
I don't know if there's something going on with the app or my app is trying to tell me something, but I have tried now multiple times from 3 different locations to do a mobile order for Taco Bell. And the food is whatever. They'll let you order whatever. But when it comes to picking the drinks, they're only allowing me to pick diet or sugar-free drinks.
Oh, that's weird. I haven't ordered, I gotta be honest, I haven't ordered Taco Bell since I think last Monday, and I definitely got a sugary drink. But
I don't know if it's something with the app or something. I went so far as to I panic deleted and reinstalled the app just to make sure.
No, don't take my Taco Bell away from me. I got no.
His name Baja.
I sidebar. Well, I'll do a sidebar for that.
Sidebar.
No, I don't want a sidebar. We can't do too many sidebars because those end up being our bonuses. William Hohen jumps in. Hi! Exclamation point. Wow, Zach. Happy to see you're feeling better than last week. Yeah, I was sick, if I recall correctly. I do like your insight on IGN, giving people what they think they want to see as a score. I would tend to agree with that, definitely. Dismantle is amazing, and more content is being added every 4 months. And it's quite cheap to buy, too. I think around $20 when not on sale. Thanks for the show. Hashtag $10 more. Not even going to get into that. Not even going to get into that. Going to just float on by. Float on by my little kayak. Nothing to see here, nothing to say here. I will say Dismantle, I keep hearing good things about that. If I ever have $10 that isn't accounted for and I'm looking for a game to try, I'm definitely going to try Dismantle because that just keeps coming up in our feed and stuff, you know? And I think it was nominated for something last year for our awards too. I don't feel like
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I feel like it just keeps popping up. It's circling around me. At some point, I'm gonna have to play it. Jason then jumps back in. Independents have to give you the best quality they can. AAA can shovel out shit because they know enough people will buy their shit. Exactly the problem. I couldn't quote it better myself. Not going to go crazy on this, but lately I have been all about AA games. That is where I am doing my most looking. Those are the most games on my Steam wish list because those games, they still have some bugs, but they're the kind of bugs you expect from a game, not Redfall. And that just goes back to the AAA companies they don't care what they do to you. There's no repercussions for them when they screw you over. They could just post a tweet about how they're sorry and that's it because you can't get refunds. You can't go back and get money back for the game. You really can't. There's no repercussions for them really whatsoever unless you don't buy the game in the first place. Which nobody's really willing to not buy the game in the first place. So it comes down to they can get away with anything at this point. And that's true. I mean, the AAA experience has gone to hell. It's so much so in the last 2 years that I would feel like people have gotten used to it. Now they're like, oh, it's not so bad. Instead of if we were talking 4 years ago and something came out and it was that way, they'd be like, this is completely uncalled for. But now they're like, oh, it's got a couple of bugs, a couple of crashes. It's still a great game. that kind of stuff is just it's AAA gaming. It's what gaming is now, and I honestly hope the industry crashes a little bit, just a tad. Anything to add to that, buddy?
Yeah, it's definitely too like it's based off of the company themselves and their name recognition, because I don't know if you I haven't been like super following it, but there is that Lord of the Rings Gollum game that just came out. So
yeah.
I remember when they announced this game, and I even at that point is why of all of the things is that it? We get stuff like Shadow of War and stuff like that, and then somebody's like, "Oh yeah, Gollum's cool," like, and not like do anything remotely like interesting with it. It got eviscerated in reviews. IGN gave it a 4, of course. I'm surprised from how they were talking about it that they did not get it a 3 or lower.
Well, they can't go lower than a 4 because a 4 is an IGN 0, man.
Right, but
you can't do a 3 to 1 for IGN because those are myths.
But it's funny too because the developer of that tried to do the same thing that everybody else does. Put out a statement. Oh, we regret the choices that we made and blah blah blah, and we feel that you deserved a better product, and we're going to focus all of our time on like patching the game and making it fine and everything like that. I mean, one of the main complaints was the story and the why are we even doing this?
How do you patch the story?
But outside of that, like, you know, something like that, Gollum was never going to make money. It was somebody got a hold of a license and they said, yeah, cool. Yeah, for sure. Let's do something with this. It was probably somebody's passion project, which it sucks because I'm sure there was somebody who was hype as all hell for this to be made. And I'm sure there's collectors out there who are really big into like Tolkien stuff, are all about this game. But, you know, you compare that with something like side by side to, I mean, I guess we can't compare Redfall at this point because who knows what's going on with that. But, you know, something like even like Cyberpunk, let's just say. Cyberpunk did the same shit, but people wanted Cyberpunk.
Right.
So whenever it came time for them to, you know, do the very, oh, we are so sorry, here's a picture and a post and yada yada, and we're focusing all of our attention, people are like, okay, yeah, go ahead, do the thing, make the game better. But, you know, that doesn't necessarily work with something that people didn't give a shit about in the first place, / had really never heard of or had a lot of hype behind to begin with.
Yeah. What's crazy to me, too, is they've already announced that they're working on another, that same company is working on another Lord of the Rings property. They have, like, a code name for it and everything. That story popped up in IGN. So really, we're going to give them another one after an IGN 0? It's ridiculous. But, yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that game made some money. That's what bothers me, is like, the game definitely made some money and nobody could get their refunds for it because people just pre-bought it because they were into Tolkien. So, I don't know. That stuff just drives me nuts. Moving on, Jason says, Starfield is an urban legend. I'm inclined to believe you.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. In 2 weeks?
I mean, so's Redfall. It's not a real game. If you think it is, play it. Jason then continues. In Redfall, I got to the second map and just kind of lost interest. I'm having a hard time even getting to anywhere in it because it is a nightmare to play. And there have been 2 updates, and it is still absolutely atrocious on PC. And I have everything set as low as humanly possible, and I can't move. I can't do anything in it.
I'm really curious as to what was going on with yours, because watching back, yours was, you were having a fucking time, man.
That's how it is every time I play it.
My PC ran it okay. I mean, I had some stuttering here and there, but like, I feel like I was running pretty smooth at...
I'm impressed.
for the most part. I had, like I said, some minor hiccups here and there. Sometimes I almost felt like I was at 60 frames a second. God forbid.
I never hit 60 frames per second. And I'll tell you, you could see me at one point in the second episode. You could literally see me turn all my settings down to low, and then still have the frame cuts and skips right afterwards. That game isn't. I mean, not to mention the other shit, like me not being able to shoot a gun for the entire first episode, or the floating special effects undulation orb.
I loved our little picture messaging that we all did back and forth throughout the course of that. Oh my god,
that game would be unbearable without you two, honestly. But
it's exactly like I said. I feel like it's a Sonic 06 jank. I love that sort of shit.
Well, and I'm glad you like that. I don't.
I would never play the game. At this point, I would not play the game on its own merits of the game. Yeah. I would play the game on the merits of it is just chef's kiss, just like fantastic bullshit abound.
Yeah, I don't know. That's so much more frustrating than watching a shitty movie to me, because you're trying to ice skate uphill while playing a game. And it's the only problem with the show that I have is, like, we've done tons of Lasso streams together, the three of us. They've all been fun. And there's definitely been some technical hiccups with the Master Chief Collection that we have all commented on many times, but overall we've been able to play together. Mm-hmm. And it's been a relatively seamless experience, even into You Suck at Parking. Now we're playing this, and it's a real catch-22, because I get the good stuff of playing with you guys, but then I have to just fucking constantly be fighting with my game while we're doing it. And it's very frustrating. I wish there was another third-person game that we could play out there that I would move the show to. Continuing, finally, Jason says, Cyberpunk 2077 bits was dumb, because the only place you could see it after Chargan is in your gear screen if the groin is uncovered in the game itself. Like in the mirror, you're wearing shorts if you have no pants on. Oh, let's read more. Hold on. The adult scenes are edited so you see nothing, and maybe there might be a comment spoken on size if relevant. Why even have it in there at that point? There's more of a point of nudity in the Saints Row games, and they pixelate it. Hell, there's even more of a point to pixelate nudity in Sims games. So let me comment on that. First of all, I was never really in a scene in the game where I was trying to look at my own junk. I didn't play it that long. I will say I had a lot of sex with prostitutes in that game, because that's something I do in video games. And I definitely saw a lot of tits and butts as far as nudity goes. That being said, the whole sizing groin thing, I think, was kind of a publicity stunt. I think they purposely programmed that into the game so that ESRB would talk about it, so that people would go, you could grow or shrink your junk. And I think that has become, and this is full tinfoil hat on thing, but that has become kind of a thing now, is because the ESRB rating, when it comes out, the major media outlets use it to kind of deconstruct what's going to be in the game. They didn't used to do this. You didn't used to hear news stories about what was in an ESRB rating before it came out. But now, Cyberpunk, you had the jetpack sex scene in Starfield, and I'm starting to feel like there are certain small things that games just like program in so that the ESRB will quote it in their insane, this is why the game is rated this, text about it. And then IGN gets a hold of it, and it builds hype for the game. So I kind of feel like this is one of the earliest examples of that. I think Cyberpunk straight up put in, because there's no real reason to make your junk bigger in that game, right?
No.
There's none. There's no real reason to make the junk. It's not like you get a better stat, like people want to suck it more, something like that. It doesn't happen. It's just you make your junk bigger or smaller in Character Creator. But by having that in there, the ESRB talked about it, and all of a sudden, if you don't, I know you remember, for like 3 weeks, that was all anybody could talk about, was how you can change a penis size in Cyberpunk.
I was going to remember the exact quote that we had made was that it is the Dick and Balls game.
Yes.
And your words exactly were, we have a huge problem if Cyberpunk is known as the Dick and Balls game.
Yep.
I pray tell, I do believe we are about at that threshold.
Yes.
That it is the Dick and Balls game.
Right. And I think we have the same problem if Starfield is the jetpack sex game. However, I'm going to say this right now, CD Projekt Red doesn't have a problem because they made $1 gazillion off that game. I really think, tinfoil hat on, I think this is you're gonna start seeing this from AAA games. Weird shit in the ESRB that comes out on IGN, and then when you get to the game, it's like, that wasn't a big deal. What was that?
Right.
You know what I mean? I think it's all part of the kind of another way to get us on board and take our money away without ever having a way to get it back. All right. That's it for fan traction, man. Unless you got anything to add?
No.
All right, let's go to our talking point. We're going to be talking about DLC and downloadable content and what we think the best are, which should be a fun conversation, I think. So we will be right back with that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Brings us to our talking point, ladies and gentlemen. Our talking point today is downloadable content. Some people find it to be extremely predatory. Nowadays, it is extremely predatory. However, it had roots in a very
Long ago,
DLC was
2009.
It was just a way to make your games a little bit longer and get some more play out of them. It wasn't actual pieces of the game that they chopped up and decided to sell to you for more.
$10.
$10. Oh, I remember when DLCs were $10. Oh, that's magical. All right, so we're talking about the best DLCs, like standout DLCs, good DLCs. We're going positive on this. I mean, let's face it. If we wanted to talk about evil, terrible, evil DLCs, we could do it until we were blue in the face. But, so we're going to talk about the standout, the good ones, the ones that really made us go, yeah, this is fucking awesome. I'm totally down with DLC. So, Neil, why don't you start us off?
So the one that came to mind, like, immediately for me, was
this is your best DLC, or do you want to talk about, like, honorable mentions after, or?
No, this I think is the best DLC.
Okay.
That I can pull off the top of my head. The one that I'm, like, can point to is, yeah, that's the best one, from games that I've played.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how mad is it going to make me?
I don't think it's going to make you mad.
Okay, sweet. Let's do it.
So that's going to be the Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition.
Okay.
Update. Or DLC, rather.
Okay.
So originally, they released Street Fighter 4. Then they did a Super Street Fighter 4, as they are wont to do with all of these. But Super Street Fighter 4 on its own was a DLC that you could tack onto your standard Street Fighter 4.
Okay.
From there, the Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition opened up the door for them to do not just like a whole bunch of, like, they would do some very light events and stuff like that, but there were online tournaments, and it actually opened the door for them to do yearly updates to the game.
Nice.
And the best part about all this was that they would do, like, rebalancing on a lot. But it also gave you the ability, if you wanted to, if you didn't like the changes, you could matchmake with people who were on the same version that you wanted to do. So you could switch through the different versions of the updates. So, perfect example. There's some characters, like my main Bison. one of the things that they did away with in one of the updates is they added more frames for him to be able to do his teleport action before you could do anything. Okay. Because one of my go-tos was to cross somebody up with a teleport and then grab them from behind if I was really under pressure. Eventually, they patched that out in an update for one of the revisions. I think it was the 2014 update. So I didn't like that because it broke one of my bread and butter go-tos with how I played him. So if I wanted to, I could go into my settings, flip the switch to go back to the previous version of it, and matchmake with people like that online.
That's awesome.
I think that was something that was very much like, it's a DLC that also allowed for you to not use it if you didn't want to.
Nice.
Because I feel like that's something sometimes that gets overlooked is if a DLC changes something massive about the game.
Yeah.
Well, your only real option is to delete the DLC. And I know back in the day, this happened to me with Mass Effect, actually. If you have the DLC and you delete it, if your save file has accessed that DLC, you can't open your save file anymore.
Yeah.
So that, I think, was huge for me. That there's like a standout for me.
It's a good accessibility standout. I like the functionality of that. That's a good pick. It's definitely not my pick, obviously, but I that's not an insult. I think this is a really thought out pick. I think that idea of being able to go back to the old thing is great. I like the idea personally, and I've subscribed to this for a while. I don't know if you would agree with this because of your stance on most games as service. But for me, I feel like fighting games should adopt, and I don't want to give Ubisoft any props, but adopt more of an Ubisoft look at it where it's just like, here's the game, now we're just going to update it for eternity, basically. We're just going to add character to it and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of pisses me off a little bit about Street Fighter, like the Street Fighter 5, is because I don't feel like we should be getting it. Just keep adding to 4 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
Yeah, they kind of did that with 5 in the beginning. In fact, that was their original plan.
Or 6. 6 is the one that's coming out, right? 5.
6 is the one that's 6 is the one that's coming out, and I'll be interested to see how they handle that because 5, when 5 first came out, that's the one of the things that they had mentioned was that they said that there's going to be no super or arcade version, and 5 is going to be like the last Street Fighter. They were going to try to have that be a live service.
Right.
Now they kind of bungled the launch of Street Fighter 5 in the beginning. It was very bare bones.
Right.
It was basically just online matchmaking, and that was about it. I feel like they've definitely course corrected as time went on. Granted, I did not jive with 5 like I did with 4, but 6 is shaping up to be something that's going to be within my wheelhouse.
Didn't jive with 5.
But I feel like they've learned from their mistakes in 5, and they're absolutely going to be more live servicey with 6.
Okay. I don't know that, like, those kind of games, like, I have a hard time spending $70 for that, just because it just seems more engineered for a games as service nowadays, just the way it's presented. I would much rather be like, all right, here's the bare bones characters. You spend like $20 for it, or even like it's free to play or whatever, and then you can earn in-game currency to get the other characters unlocked, kind of like how For Honor does it, and then we're just gonna update it, new stages, new whatever, and just keep it going forever. But it's one of the things I don't like is they every so often they're like, another $70,
Yeah, and I think that they definitely tried that with Killer Instinct.
Mm-hmm.
Killer Instinct was free to play whenever they put it out on the Xbox One. And they had you basically pay for characters here and there. Had like free character weekend, stuff like that. So I mean, other fighting games have done that. I feel like Capcom is not gonna jump on that bandwagon because they know they can get the $70.
They're a very old school company, much like Sony. They're very like, we're gonna charge you every time, doesn't matter. Okay, so that's your GOAT. Do you want
That's
to
my
do
goat.
your honorable mentions, or do you want me to do my goat, and then we'll do honorable mentions, like trade off honorable mentions later?
Do your goat, and then we'll do honorable mentions.
This was a really hard decision for me. I had 3 in mind that really like made or broke my DLC. The things that like I was really excited about, got into them, like brought me back to the game. But I had to settle on this one because I felt like this actually is one of those that just like, this is what a DLC could be sort of situation. And that would be the final DLC for the OG Borderlands game. And that would be the Secret Vault of General Knox. That DLC was massive. It was like, I think, a third the size of the original game itself. It added a big boss, and then it actually added its own little storyline to it. You had this really cool bad guy, and then after you got done with the bad guy, you had this huge, awesome vault that you could, like, pull apart, but you only had so much time to pull things out of it, because then you had to get out or the place would explode, so you'd have to keep doing the run over and over again. And that, I remember that DLC, because it was earlier on. It's OG Borderlands, so it was earlier in the days of the DLCs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was when DLCs were pretty fresh-faced. You know what I mean? There had been some around, but this was a newer concept, right? And this DLC was just one of those that was like, oh, this is what DLC can be. And I remember playing it and thinking to myself, and I think a lot of people who played it agreed with me, was just like, oh, so DLC can literally just like add another game onto our game that we've already purchased. And yeah, I mean, General Knox was one of those that just like the amount of content you got with it just far outweighed the price, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it weirdly enough, the first Borderlands I did not play.
Really?
I started on 2.
Really?
Okay, yeah, I did not play the first one. But yeah, definitely something like that, especially for the size of like that. I mean, you're definitely getting something out of it.
Yeah,
and then that's when they kind of started introducing that. That's early on when they started introducing like run-based things.
Yes. Borderlands was, I think Borderlands was in a lot of ways the genesis of the looter shooter. Like, I know there was some looter shooters around before, and loot was it wasn't any new concept in gaming, but Borderlands was the first one where it was like, holy shit, we got to go do this over and over again to get the new loot, to build our builds, you know, stuff like that. General Knox also had a hidden boss in it, which was Crawmerax, the immortal Crawmerax, that literally it was nearly impossible to beat. If I recall correct, there was a workaround where, like, if you found a certain place in the boss part, you could like take pot shots at him until he died. But overall, he was a nearly an unbeatable boss. And there was a hidden boss in the DLC. Like, that to me was like amazing, like a hidden raid boss.
Yeah.
And Borderlands just did that. Borderlands 2 is a far superior game. I wouldn't knock that at all. Borderlands 2 was extremely awesome. But Borderlands 2 had some great DLCs to it. The problem with Borderlands 2, though, is Borderlands 2 was one of the first games to start hacking pieces off and selling it to you after the fact. Borderlands, the Necromancer class, there was 4 base classes in the game, but then there was a Necromancer 5th class. You could get that class at launch if you pre-ordered it. It was a pre-order bonus. So why, are you kidding me? Like, it's part of the game and you're cutting it off before it was even in it. I remember Phil was super pissed about it. And I think that, like, that was something that really bugged me about that. And the reason that I can't in good conscience give Borderlands 2 any props for their DLCs, because they really, if you're really looking at the whole cut pieces off thing, Borderlands 2 was one of the first, if not the first. It was one of the first to be like, you have to pay for the base game even more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Krieg was the only one who was like actually like after the fact.
Yes. Yeah, Krieg was added after the fact later on. And the Necromancer was added so that you could get her later on, but she cost money.
Yeah.
She wasn't added for free. So I remember being pissed too because they were also very very. I mean, it was still in the early days of the pre-order bonuses and the tiering on pre-order bonuses. And I remember thinking I pre-ordered it and I pre-ordered a special edition. I'm going to get the Necromancer. I didn't get the Necromancer because my specific pre-order bonus, even though I got the special art book and a bobblehead and everything else with it, even though I got all that stuff, that specific tier level didn't include the Necromancer. Super annoying. Like, super, super annoying. But General Knox, I think, is a prime example of what DLCs can be and what they should be nowadays. So, I think we've said everything about our goats. Those are our goats. Should we do honorable mentions now?
Yeah. Mine, for my first one that I thought of for honorable mention, it's kind of cheating, but
cares?
The whole entirety of the Rock Band DLC.
That is really cheating.
That really is cheating. Because, I mean, obviously it's not a single one because it's individual songs. But there were some artists who had their entire albums put up as DLC. It was so cool because it was something that it was like, I feel like people would have been more pissed if they did not do the DLCs, the songs as DLC. But like, there's a ton of like stupid ones that they did too. Like even like Metalocalypse, some of the Death Clock songs were on there as DLCs. Stupid ones. Halo 3, I think, had the or not Halo 3. Guitar Hero 3, same vein, had the theme from Halo as one of the DLCs. Like, there's just so much. And it was cool because you could buy packs or you could just scroll through and just buy what you wanted. They didn't, like, pre-group it in, oh, here's wave 1, and you spend, like, $30, but only, like, 4 of the songs. I feel like that's a product of its time, though, because I feel like if Rock Band were still a thing now, I know it just shut down not too long ago.
It just did, I was just about to say it.
They tried to relaunch Rock Band and Guitar Hero, and it didn't work out. So, but you know, I feel like if here and now they tried to do it, they would very much do the here's a pack of like 6 songs. Yeah. So, you know, give us $20 and go from there. Sort of situation.
Yeah, I think we would definitely like be in a terrible situation, but it was a very popular thing, and it was so good that it just recently ended. I mean, that was the plus of those games, is just getting those like songs and albums over and over again, and that's something that I've always liked. That's kind of almost the proper way of doing like something like that. Like, here's a service, you know, and then we're just gonna sell you songs every so often.
And you can import your purchases from like all the way back on the Xbox 360 with the first Rock Band, all the way up to Rock Band 3 and 4.
Yeah. It was
so
very cool.
Like it was all compatible too, which made it even better.
It was very cool. All right, so my next one, my first honorable mention. This is the one that narrowly lost to General Knox, and the only reason General Knox won was because it was kind of more trailblazing, you know. But as far as fun for me goes, this would have actually been the winner, and that would be Iceborne from Monster Hunter World. So what you guys don't know about Monster Hunter, if you haven't played it, Monster Hunter releases with a certain number of monsters that you hunt, whatever, and there's a story. And then they come out with free monsters every so often that they just add to the game that you can then start hunting. And they'll do that every so often until they get to, like, I want to say like a year out, maybe like 6 months out. And then they'll do one giant expansion, like one huge giant expansion that expands on the game. It gives you more story. It gives you a ton more monsters. Then they start doing like little monster content updates on that for another year until they eventually move to the next game. Iceborne was Monster Hunter Worlds. Iceborne added an astronomical amount of monsters, not including subspecies, a whole nother storyline that was almost as big as the original game. And you're not really playing Monster Hunter for the story, because it's basically like, something's wrong in nature. Let's kill all these monsters and make hats out of them until we fix it. That's basically the story. But still, there's story, there's cutscenes there that they add, and this game was just huge. It also added the claw, which a lot of people hated, which was this grappling hook thing that would pull you to the monster and allow you to like wail on them on a part. So it added an entire mechanic to it. They also added all the weapons got different little moves to them too with the claw. And other such things. So they basically made the game's sequel into the game itself. Just a heads up on Monster Hunter, and this is not going to make me look good, but I bought Monster Hunter World on Xbox. I played through it. I loved it. Then I thought I was done with it, and I sold it. Okay? Then it came to Game Pass. I ended up feeling the need to play it again. Played it again for a while. Then Iceborne came out. I rebought Monster Hunter World because they sold a physical Iceborne copy with the OG game that just gave you everything on it. So I was like, I'm just gonna go back to it. So I rebought it and brought it home. So I bought that game twice basically and reinstalled it. Then played it, a number of times. That's when we did the On the Hunt show with Phil Billy. And that game just I have had nothing but nonstop playability from that. The world, they added a whole nother world section to it. Then they added this other end game process to it, which was really cool, where it was basically like another map, but the map had, each section of the map was basically like a miniature biome of any of the other maps that you had been to previously. So you could just go there and any monster would just randomly pop up and you could hunt them. It was so cool. That game was so cool. That DLC was so cool.
You still jump back into it from time to time?
No, and the reason I do not jump back into it from time to time is the switch to PC. There is no crossover or crossplay or anything. So for me to play it again, I would literally have to purchase it a third time because it is no longer on Game Pass for the PC, and I just cannot bring myself to spend another. I've almost done it a couple of times because it's been on sale for like $12. And I almost was like, but I was like, no. So, yeah.
I'll do that sometimes if it's something, even though I do a small...
well, Wild Hearts...
I'll pay a little bit.
Wild Hearts kind of filled that...
I was going to say,
It filled that hole for me. I really loved Wild Hearts. It gave me the Monster Hunter vibes. And so that kind of like fixed that problem for me. What's your next honorable mention? Do you have any? I have one more.
Yeah, I really only have the one more, and this one's so dumb and so silly.
Okay.
It is... So Devil May Cry 5 had a very special DLC whenever it first came out. It was only available if you pre-ordered. It was the collector's edition, I believe it was.
Okay.
So, are you super familiar with the Devil May Cry series?
No.
Okay.
I know a little bit, but no.
It may be enough for you to know. So Devil May Cry is known for its like over the top like action stuff.
Sure.
And a lot of that stuff is played out in the cutscenes, either like before a boss battle or like before a mission starts. This DLC, it was like a director's cut DLC or something. Mm-hmm. Made all of those cutscenes be played out with toys. It was literally action figures and like model cars.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
That there on its own.
Yeah, that's cool.
I purchased it. I had only seen a little bit of it, just because of my playthrough that I had started over a year ago at this point. But that alone is like the idea. The idea of that, like that somebody went and played with toys to retell a cutscene for multiple hours, and somebody packaged that and said, "Hey, give me $10 and I'll let you watch this grown individuals play with toys." And people, including myself, were like, "Here's my money."
That's fun. That's really fun. All right, my last one. I'll make it relatively quick. I know it's going to be a Skyrim one, and I know a lot of people would think that I'd pick Dragonborn because it added a whole nother island and a whole bunch of stuff, but that wasn't actually my favorite DLC from that. My favorite DLC was a little bit more of a functionality DLC, and that would be Hearthstone. The Hearthstone DLC for Skyrim was what really drew me back into Skyrim after I had stopped playing it for a while. Basically what Hearthstone is OG vanilla Skyrim, you could buy houses in it, and there was 3 different cities where you could buy houses in, and they were capital cities. But there was also like 3 other capital cities that you couldn't buy houses in, you couldn't do anything with them, whatever. Plus, you could get married in it. You could get married to certain people, but you couldn't have kids. You couldn't have a family. There was nothing special about that. You could just she would be, or he, or whatever would be just a person that would sell stuff for you occasionally. And if you slept in the bed that they were in, you'd get this little boon that kind of meant you did it, and that was it. This game, this Hearthstone update, to the capital cities that didn't have houses, you could build a house. You could buy a plot of land, and then you could build a house. There were also these things all over the world called mills. They were just locations, and nothing ever happened at them. You couldn't buy anything from them or anything. This allowed you to buy lumber and building supplies from the mills, so it made these locations that had no use before have a use. And you could adopt children. You could go to the city, and there was always these little urchin children running around asking you for money. Well, now you could actually adopt them. You could play with them. You could play hide and seek with them. You could give them gifts. I thought that was so cool. I loved it. I loved building a house, moving my family in. You could hire a bard to just live in your house. You could decorate it the way you wanted. And I thought the Hearthstone DLC for Skyrim was just such a cool way to go with it. You know what I mean? Because they could have just done more quests, more fighting, whatever, but they actually added some new functionality to the game, which I just loved.
Kind of convenient, too, giving you the ability to build out a house for the exact things that you need for your play style.
Yes.
Because, myself, I know I never messed with alchemy. Right. I never mess with alchemy. So, whenever you'd buy a house and it would have, an alchemy table or something in it, it's this is wasting space. I don't want this. I don't need this.
Right.
Give me an enchanting table instead.
Right.
It gives you options.
Yeah, you really could. You need to mess with the alchemy, though. That alchemy is super powerful.
Yeah, I know. It can be. I don't know. So much trial and error, and you got to eat shit just to figure out what the hell it is.
You did. All right. That's it for Best DLC. We're going to go to the news. So, the news. Awesome. Going to get super sad now. We'll be right back in a second with that. What did you guys think the best DLC was? You guys out there, please comment. What were your favorite DLCs? Try and keep it positive. We know DLCs can be evil. You don't need to remind us DLCs can be evil. Tell us what the ones that you liked were, or that were worth it. So other than that, we will be right back with the news.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to our final segment, ladies and gentlemen. That is the news. What is in the news? Well, we've got a couple of news stories for you for each of us. They are smaller stories. Well, they're news stories. I need a new intro for this. I haven't rehearsed.
Oh, it's gonna be hard for you to shake that.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's muscle memory at this point.
So we're gonna tell you about them because we're journalists. That's how we're gonna roll with that.
Very. I am a journalist in that I can hold a journal in my hand.
Sounds about right. All right, Neil has 7. I got 4 headlines. So Neil, hit us with your first one.
All right, so announcement season is upon us.
Yes, it is.
In fact, kicking everything off, even before PlayStation's showcase, I'm actually just going to roll 2 of these together all in one.
Okay.
Mortal Kombat 1 was announced, aka Mortal Kombat 12, but it's coming in September. It seems as they are just rebooting everything.
Actually, the story of Mortal Kombat rebooted after the last one. Like if you're following the continuity of the game, the actual story of the game ended and restarted with Liu Kang in Raiden's place. So the Mortal Kombat 1 kind of makes sense as a continuation because the whole thing restarted in itself.
Which is weird because they rehashed the story with time travel in Mortal Kombat 10.
Yes. Yeah. And that's basically what happens is like spoilers for the game, guys, if you haven't played it. I didn't actually play it. I just listened to a podcast about it. But basically what happens is everything gets wiped out because they fight this like time goddess or whatever.
Yeah.
And the only person who lives through it is Liu Kang. He ends up getting the power to literally recreate the universe. So that's why it's 1, because this is whatever Liu Kang made. So kind of cool.
Yeah. But aside from that, PlayStation had their showcase on the 24th. Mm-hmm. Did you get a chance to look at the announcements?
Some of them. It definitely, if this was their E3, it was pretty underwhelming.
It was. It very much was their E3 because it was presented as a showcase, not a state of play.
Okay.
So here was their showcase. There were really only like 2 things of note. One of them, the main one that's like actually exciting, I would say, is going to be the Spider-Man 2. Yeah. Spider-Man 2 looks like it's going to be interesting. It got the 10-minute gameplay and like a trailer and everything like that. That's going to be coming out at the end of this year. But the other thing that we actually talked about in an odd and end a couple months ago is Project Q.
Mm-hmm.
So we joked because it was the dumbest sounding thing on the face of the earth. It was rumored to be a handheld console that would only stream games that were installed on your PlayStation 5 on your home Wi-Fi network. Right. Well, guess the fuck what? It's real. It looks like somebody cut a DualSense in half and slapped a tablet in there. I cannot imagine this thing costing more than $200, $250 extreme most, because no one's gonna buy it. It's the Wii U. It's just the Wii U, straight up and down. Yeah. And they have earbuds too that they're going to be doing, PlayStation branded earbuds, because why the fuck not at this point?
There is so much to unpack with these news. Oh, do you have another one? I'm sorry.
The only other thing that I thought was kind of interesting that they announced was Marathon.
Yeah.
That kind of threw me off because I was watching this trailer for it and I was like, this is very interesting. It's very bright. And then when the splash screen came across that said Bungie, I was like, okay, what, Destiny 3? No. A Marathon, and if you are a gamer of persuasion, you will know that Marathon is Halo or Halo.
Mm-hmm.
So, very intrigued, and I think I almost wonder if they're going to try to like poached the disappointed Halo Infinite people.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too, especially given how they were describing it, because it definitely seems like it's going to be a like a versus PvP sort of situation. Okay, so a lot to unpack because that felt like 7 headlines rolled into one.
Kind of, yeah.
First of all, there's some big problems with the showcase, and that was almost all of these came with controversy. Number one, Mortal Kombat 1 will destroy your hard drive. Its physical requirements to be on your hard drive are absolutely astronomical. Like, I hope you have the greatest PC ever, because it ain't going to be there. And from what I understand, as far as like even the next gen games, it's going to take up a lot of space. I do not remember the specs, nor do I have them in front of me, but I remember that was a big deal after it got announced.
I've actually not seen this, so
this was a story on IGN.
I'm going to take a look at this.
It was a story on IGN that it was like it was going to rip up your hard drive because it was so big, which is insane for a fighting game. Number 2, the Spider-Man controversy. After this trailer, a lot of people got really excited because the person who voice acts for Miles Morales hinted that there was a co-op mode in the game. There is no co-op mode in the game, so now people are pissed that there's no co-op mode in the game. So they botched that. They botched the first one. Now we have this PlayStation Wii U. Guys, PlayStation, this is... And again, I want to say this again. I can't say this enough. I hate Xbox just as much as I hate PlayStation nowadays. But this goes to show how out of touch PlayStation is with selling and presenting hardware and accessories to people. The idea that they think, like, yes, portability nowadays is a big deal. The Switch is a very popular system. The Steam Deck is a very popular system. These are things that are popular. People want that portability that they didn't necessarily want before. That being said, making a handheld that only plays games if you have a console, you're missing the point. You're missing the whole point of everything, because the Switch is portable and the console itself, right? You don't have to also have a console in addition to it. The Steam Deck, same thing. Steam Deck, hell, I can have a Steam Deck and not even have a PC if I want. Like, they're consoles onto themselves, whereas having to do this as an accessory is insane to me. You're missing the point. You're definitely out of touch with all of this. And as far as Marathon goes, I gotta say, Phil Billy, like, what was it, like 2 years ago, he predicted that Bungie was going to announce a new game. Mm-hmm. It was called Matter. Obviously, he was wrong about this. Yeah, he was wrong about the subject matter, but they definitely announced another game. I think it's a very interesting decision to do a more PvP focused game. I was expecting another kind of Destiny, like a different take on a games as service game. We've been wondering what Bungie's bringing to the table other than Destiny for PlayStation. PlayStation purchased them a year ago, maybe a year and a half at this point. And the big question was, like, all they had was Destiny. What else are they bringing to the table? I guess it's this. I don't know that PvP is the way to go nowadays. I don't see a lot of excitement about PvP games anymore, not shooters anymore. So I don't know that this is the right way to go personally. But okay, that's everything I have to say about all of those things. But there's a lot of... I feel like the showcase was really bungled this year. If this was an E3 show, it was a crash and burn sort of situation. It was nothing big.
It wasn't. Yeah, no, it wasn't super great. No. It was very reserved, and the worst part about it overall is Microsoft came out afterwards and was like, "Yeah, so like 11 of these games that were shown are also coming to Xbox, by the way." So yeah,
including Marathon, right? I think that was one of the ones announced coming.
Yes. Marathon, I believe, was one of the ones.
What are we doing at that point?
Turn of events.
Especially with how much hate is going on between Sony and Xbox right now because of the merger. What are you doing, man? That's the game that you withhold. Why are you withholding that? Like, I don't get that whatsoever. But yeah. So, should I do my first one then?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, much smaller one, but much more exciting in a lot of ways. Dead by Daylight's next installment So Dead by Daylight, the horror game, asymmetrical horror game. I've played it many times.
Oh God, you're about to talk about.
Damn right I am. You're damn right I am, baby.
To message you about this.
I don't know how you didn't. I saw it and I was excited. There's only one thing that makes me sad about it, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Nick Cage, voiced by Nick Cage, is coming to Dead by Daylight as a survivor. Why isn't he also a killer? Why isn't he also a killer?
Oh, wait, he's a survivor?
He's a survivor, he's not a killer.
I swear to God, I watched that trailer, and I thought he was, like, the killer.
Oh.
And I had a whole side conversation with Kayla about it. It's like, has he been in any movies where he's, like, a psycho murderer? Like,
first of all, every movie that Nicolas Cage is in, whether he's trying to or not, he's a psycho murderer. So he should definitely be a killer. I think he should have been the first both. He should have, and this was something Jason had said. I think he should have been the first character that was both a survivor and both a killer. Like, you could play him either way. That would have been awesome. But yeah, he's coming to Dead by Daylight. Nick Cage, voiced by Nick Cage himself.
yeah, that there. I remember seeing it, and I thought it was one of those, like, because it popped up on YouTube, and I was like, this is definitely one of those that's like a fan fake ass bullshit, whatever. And even at the end of the trailer, when he, like, they show his face and everything, I'm like, wow, somebody really went through a lot of work to make this joke. And then I looked at it, and all the shit looked official at the end. I'm like, wait, are they serious? And I looked at it, it's like, sure as shit, it's real. Very strange to make him a survivor.
It is. It is. I'm okay with him being a survivor, but just make him also a killer. Because I only play killers. I never play survivors, so I want to play him, and I'm not going to be able to. I'm only going to be able to murder him. It's going to be hard for me to murder Nicolas Cage characters. All right, so I'm down to 3. You're up.
All right, so to piggyback a little bit off the one that we just covered, one of the things that was shown at PlayStation Showcase was gameplay for Alan Wake 2. Yeah. And a little bit of information about Alan Wake 2 came out. Apparently, Remedy is planning on doing a digital-only release for the game.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. This is one of those things to where it's been a long time coming, where places are just going to do digital-only releases. It makes my heart hurt because I know that once that gets adopted, it's going to be a downhill slope with that. Now, I did also very briefly read another article not too long ago that there was somebody was pushing for Remedy to not do that, and it seems as they were open to the possibility of not doing that, maybe doing like a collector's edition sort of thing where it's a physical release, which, I mean, I guess is fine, but then those become collector's items, not necessarily, because, like, if you know anything about it, like, finding a physical copy of Stardew Valley is, like, literally impossible.
Yeah.
They go for, like, $70, $80 online. So, I don't know. It's definitely, like, I'm resigning myself to the fate that at some point it's going to be that way, but I just didn't think it was going to be so soon.
Well, look, man, at some point in the near future, we're not even going to be paying for games. We're going to be paying subscriptions for different libraries. It's gonna splinter just like Netflix did with visual watching, and just like Game Pass is doing right now. Somewhere, frickin' Asylum is cackling. In any case, I can't get excited for this game. I will say, from what I heard, Remedy is doing the digital only because they want to make it $10 cheaper.
Yeah, they did.
So at least it's for the right reasons, I would say. I mean, on the front of the game, like the Jake Gyllenhaal and I don't know, it's just, this game doesn't excite me in any way, shape, or form. So it's hard for me to get hyped for it, I guess.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, I've never played it, to be fair.
Oh,
but
really?
If I remember correctly, the first Alan Wake was somewhat of a sleeper like cult hit.
Yeah.
Like it came out and nobody cared, and then afterwards it got like really big.
Steamrolled.
And now when 2 got announced, everybody kind of went crazy for it. So I mean, I think it's the fact that it's Alan Wake more than anything else, but yeah, I don't know, something like that. Like it's just like when movies do it. Like I was talking to a guy at work earlier today. You know, we look at something like even like the Indiana Jones movies, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and that wasn't super great. But you know, apparently, from what I understand, we have a newfound appreciation for that movie. You compare it to the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah,
I still want to go see it, but it's like one of those things. So it's like after a certain amount of time, whatever the thing is that's coming out, the hype that was around it before has died off. And then we go back to that same exact conversation that we had about Gollum earlier. The why factor starts creeping in. Well, and I feel like Alan Wake 2 is one of those why factors.
For the record, there are 3 Indiana Jones movies. There will always be 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Only 3. Only 3.
Moving on from that, I agree with the why factor. My biggest problem with the OG Alan Wake, I actually played all the way through it. I loved the game until the ending. The game was... I'm not going to ruin it for anybody who hasn't played it, but it's very like... you don't really get any answers. You just get questions through the whole game, and you're like, oh, it's building up to this big reveal moment, and then you get to the ending, and you're like, the fuck is going on? Like, and that's something that bothered me. It scared me. It's one of the reasons I didn't play Control until very late in its life cycle, because I was afraid that I'm going to play through the whole thing, I'm going to love it, it's going to get to the end, and it's going to be some weird-ass avant-garde bullshit, and I can't take that stuff, not to sound hillbilly-ish, but like, I can't. I mean, it's one thing to do it in a movie, because then you walk away from the movie and you go, what was this? What was that? You spent 2 hours on the movie, 198 minutes, like... With a game, you spent 25 fucking hours trying to figure out what was going on for them to do a weird shot of him on a typewriter, and I can't do that shit anymore. So, like, I can't play it. I won't play it. So, my next one, this is a funny one, and this one might be some overlap for you, because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that we were so surprised that it was happening, that it was coming to Steam, and had not been canceled by the powers of be.
Yeah, this is an overlap.
Yeah.
This is an overlap.
So the Dolphin emulator, which is a thing that copies is an emulator that copies Nintendo products from specifically from GameCube and
GameCube.
Steam said, "Hey, we're bringing it to Steam," and then Nintendo said, "No, you're not." But what was funny is they advertised they were bringing it to Steam, and you and I got on here and was like, "How are they doing this? And how hasn't it been stopped by Nintendo, who will literally send cease and desist people to people making little fun games inside of other games?" Yeah, it's been canceled. It's been, and this bothers me. This little part, I know this is a detail, maybe a little bit of an English nitpick, but if something is postponed indefinitely, it is canceled. Okay, indefinitely means forever. Postponed is it might be coming out later. No, it's canceled. It's canceled. It's not coming. Steam received a cease and desist letter, and the creators of the Dolphin emulator went online and said, "We're sorry, Nintendo doesn't like us. So they're not going to let us do this."
Like, what did you expect was going to happen?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know.
That's the thing. Like, Nintendo finds out. They always find out. Putting it on Steam, of all places,
the biggest storefront in the history of gaming. Yeah.
I mean, they were going after everybody with Tears of the Kingdom whenever because the emulation on the computer that you can do with that, like the game leaked early. So people are running it at like 120 frames 4K on their computers and everything. And Nintendo was going after everyone in their and said like Zelda. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Their ability to gatekeep is just dumb. It also makes them out of touch. I think that the Switch was a momentary
Flash in the pan.
Yeah, it was a momentary flash of genius that has kind of kept them alive after the Wii U. But their gatekeeping bullshit is just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. All right, I'm down to 2.
Well,
and I cut yours down a little bit.
Speaking of people being out of the loop, okay. GameStop.
Oh, God, here we go.
GameStop is hiking the price of the Power Up Rewards program.
Yeah, I heard about this.
$25 a year now. Yeah. So that's an extra $10. They were charging $15 a year. All that was really said was that you're just going to get better deals with that.
What deals? GameStop?
Yeah.
Give us some
insight, when you buy a used game, instead of it costing $45 used as opposed to $60 new, it's going to be $44.
We can't make any money off you, so we're just going to literally ask you to hand us more. That's basically what they're doing right now. GameStop this company is fucking shit. I don't have anything else to say about that.
I definitely, I'm at this point, Tears of the Kingdom was pre-ordered via Amazon. So, I think that's where I am.
Well, and I'm digital only.
Very sad.
I don't even buy my gift cards there anymore. The only thing I will go in there for is a controller if my controller breaks. That's literally the only thing I go into GameStop for. And that's probably going to stop after my Power Up Rewards goes away, because the Power Up Rewards would give me at least $5 off, right? But after that's gone, I'm not going to do this $25 bullshit. So I'll just buy my controller somewhere else. I'll probably go to Amazon. Fuck, it's probably cheaper. So I think that GameStop is on its way out.
I mean, it's been on its way out. It's just like, how long can you watch the slow car crash?
Yeah.
Like, especially like, they had their big boom whenever COVID happened. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it's like, there's always been some sort of excuse. Like, well, we didn't have consoles, so we couldn't really sell games. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I mean, it's kind of like eye-rolly, like, okay, it's like somebody calling off of work with a lame excuse, but it's like, okay, if it actually happened, okay, cool, I guess. It's still annoying, but,
it's kind of funny to me that there's even if you're still buying physical games, there's better ways to purchase them, like cheaper, better ways now than GameStop, because they don't give you shit for your trade-ins anymore, and all the prices are so high now anyway. Not even because of them, just because of the $70 price hike. That it's not even worth it to really trade into them. Like, there's just so many better ways to purchase your games, your hardware, than going to GameStop. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, honestly, we here in the U.S. are concerned an economic downfall, and if that happens, I cannot fathom a world where GameStop survives it.
No, definitely not. All right, so I'm down to 2. I am going to go to this one, which I know you definitely don't have, because it's a wrestling thing, and it's a real sad-ass wrestling thing. I've been wanting to do a terrible talk on wrestling games for a while, but Fight Forever has finally given its release date. That's AEW's game, their counter to the 2K games, basically. Their first foray into the video game space, which has had... I don't know if you remember all the problems that I've reported on with this game many times. June 29th, Fight Forever will be released. This month it's actually coming. And it looks like hot garbage. I've watched some trailers and some gameplay footage online, and if you compare it, even when 2K is glitchy, if you compare it graphically to 2K, it just doesn't even walk into the same space. That being said, I am on record as saying I don't really care about graphics. I care about fun factor. I care about what you can do with the game. I don't think you're going to be able to do much with this game, but we'll have to see when it releases. But I think any wrestling game, there are some prospects out there coming. There's one that's like a indie wrestling game kind of thing that they're bringing all the indies together. Any wrestling game is truly going to have a hard time walking into the video game space because 2K23 has done something that is almost illegal. And that is they have created this monopoly on wrestling itself. And what I mean by that is the Creation Club stuff, the Creation Studio, all of that. Because right now on 2K23, if I want, I can go on to the created stuff, which is community creations. That's what people do. They just do communications. I can download the arena for AEW. I can download the roster for AEW. I can download all of that stuff and just play it through 2K23. 2K23, when it's good and it's not buggy like 2K20 was, when it's actually a solid wrestling game, there is no wrestling game that can compete with it because of the fact that it literally is every wrestling game. All you have to do is go on and download the people you want and change the game to what you want, you know? So yeah, it's real tricky. Real tricky with that stuff. So I think Fight Forever is going to be a hot train wreck come June 29th.
You think it might be something that IGN's going to take a look at?
Yeah, IGN will definitely give it a review. They'll probably get it a 4 on IGN 0. I can't see this game doing good. This game has like weird party games in it. Like it's not what people want from the wrestling game space, in my opinion, from what I look at, from the trends I see when I'm watching the content creators that I watch who do this. It's not the kind of stuff they want to do. They don't want to do silly mini games. I mean, do you remember WWE Battlegrounds the year after 2K20? That really shitty, like, almost character-driven fighter where you could, like, throw each other into, like, alligator mouths and stuff.
And shit, yeah.
Nobody wanted that game. And while Fight Forever is definitely probably more real than Battlegrounds, it looks arcadey like that. You can't have arcadey shit like that. Like that's not what the people who occupy this space want to play and see. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the what they want is they want a real wrestling experience with a lot of customization in it, and it doesn't look like they're getting a lot of that.
It's because those sorts of things, they try to appeal to people outside of that base.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'll be honest, I remember that one, the one that we were just talking about, the arcadey, cartoony one.
Battlegrounds.
Battlegrounds. Yeah. I remember when that was announced. Like, I know dick all about wrestling. Mm-hmm. But I remember watching that, I was like, oh, wow, that kind of looks fun, like a Smash Brothers sort of situation. They didn't make that game for you. They made that game for me. Try to pull me into it.
But did you buy it?
No, that's the thing. No, absolutely not.
The problem is
walked both sides of the line and didn't have an identity.
Right.
And that's what ruined it.
You have to get the diehards before you get anybody else. In any sort of super fandom like this, and that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a super fandom like comics is a super fandom. You know, like movies, certain movies are super fandoms. This is a super fandom. Wrestling's a super fandom. You need to get the wrestling super fans on board with your game. There are people in this space who literally only play wrestling games. They only play video games to play the newest WWE 2K. So you have to get those guys interested. Those guys who are spending more of their time watching AEW, watching WWE. Those are the people that you need to get your game into before you ever try and get any casuals going. And I don't feel like Fight Forever has targeted them in any way, shape, or form. So, it's just my thought process. You're up.
Yeah. So, see, I got 2 more left.
Great. I only have 1 left, so we're perfect.
Redfall is not doing good.
Is this news?
Not even... no, this isn't news, but I'll tell you the how not good is very much newsy. As of May 17th, according to the Steam charts, it had a peak of 351 players.
That sounds right.
That's like That's definitely Anthem numbers.
That game, and that game's way worse than Anthem was ever. Anthem at least was a game. Redfall's not a game. Redfall is a brainstorm that somebody made digital and lets you play and charges you $70 for. That's what Redfall is.
And the thing that really, like, we talked about this very briefly when we played, and I think we also touched base on this whenever it actually came out, after we got our hands on it a little bit. It had so much potential.
That's what I mean by a brainstorm.
So much potential.
That's what I mean by a brainstorm.
It was just kicked out just to, like a bird that wasn't ready to fly, kicked out of the nest, and it's dead, rotting on the ground now. That's what it is.
It's like an elevator pitch for a game. It's like something you would take in and let somebody play and be like, see, now if you give me the money, look at what I can do with this. Like, that's what it is. It's like a brainstorm. Yeah, it's like a brainstorm that somebody put into a digital form because there's so many bugs and so much bullshit in it, but you can see the good ideas, the cool things, but they all end up half-baked. They all end up not finished. It all ends up not to scale. But Redfall isn't a game. Redfall is a pitch for a game that they charged you $70 for. And that's so it shouldn't be doing good. But again, we could talk about Redfall and how much my distaste for it has gotten, but
watch Redfall down on Saturday.
People are. It's kind of crazy. We got something like, I want to say like 30 or 40 views on the first episode, and then 20 on the second. I was actually expecting not to get any because Redfall is such a train wreck, but you know what pisses me off though? Do you watch Honest Game Trailers at all?
Yes.
Do you remember how we were trying to come up with a good name for our series?
Redfail.
They nailed it. They knocked it out of the park. Redfail. I was like, why didn't we think of that?
You know what? And I almost texted you about that too when I watched that. They said Redfail. I was like, motherfuck! It was right in front of us.
Right in front of us. The only thing I'll say about ours is if somebody is searching Redfall, ours might come up. Whereas if somebody's searching like nobody's searching Redfail. Like if somebody's searching for Redfall, Redfail isn't going to come up. So okay, so my final one is a sad one for Overwatch fans, and a confusing one, to say the least. I've got to say this. So Overwatch 2 announced this a long time ago when they were coming out that they were going to make these PvE-focused mode to the game, where you and friends like took on enemies, and it actually told the story of Overwatch, which there really isn't much story to Overwatch. It's just a hero shooter. I'm sure there is a story in the background, but they don't really tell it through the video game. This was going to actually tell it. It was going to be basically like a story mode. This mode has been canceled. They are really sorry about this. They said they are. They are quoted as saying that they were trying to be really ambitious with it, and it got so big that they couldn't actually do it anymore, which sounds like a cop-out to me. But what's really weird on this, is after they said it's canceled, no story mode, they then said they're going to do story missions, which are still going to be PvE and still going to tell stories. Isn't that the same thing? Like, why are you even saying it's canceled at this point? It's very confusing to me what they're doing with this, because I don't recall, and granted, I'm not an Overwatch guy. If somebody out there is an Overwatch guy, feel free to correct me, but I don't recall them. I recall the story mode announcement. I don't recall any, like, explicit details being given. So if you're gonna, like, if you had something in the works that you're gonna pare down, why would you even tell us at that point? Just be like, here's the story mode. Like, I don't understand what we're doing here if you're still going to be releasing a PvE mode where you play co-op with friends and you fight bad guys. I don't understand what we're doing here, because that's a story mode, right?
Honestly, the whole saga with Overwatch has just been ridiculous from start to finish. Yeah. I mean, they turned 2 and 1 were supposed to, like, sort of exist side by side. They shut down 1 after 2 was launched. And then from there, you basically had to have a smartphone to play the damn game, which is bizarre because reasons, you know. On top of that, like, they had made you pay for characters that were, you know, previously free in the other game. And now they're like, oh, well, you know, this mode, it's not going to be a thing, but it's going to be a thing, but it's not gonna what it was that we wanted it to be. And it's just like, I really don't get. It's just like, if you want to talk about a failure, I feel like Overwatch 2 overall is a failure. I mean, it's big with esports, but I don't hear people talking about the game.
I wish I could call it a failure. It's making them buco dollars hand over fist. Yeah, so what's the fucking barrier for failure anymore? Because
exactly.
I mean, I'd call Cyberpunk 2077 a failure of a game, but it made them tons of fucking money. Same with Halo Infinite. So what is the fucking word for failure anymore? Because, like, the companies don't see them as failures because they're only looking at the bottom line. So the only people calling them failures are us whiny fat guys on the internet who nobody listens to anyway. So I think that, I mean, they're going to keep doing shit like this. With Overwatch 2, it made money. So they're going to keep doing it. I don't understand the reasoning behind this, like, announcement at all, because it's almost like you're manufacturing rage at the game that you didn't even need, you know?
Right.
Like, even if you thought that the new mode that you were going to do was underwhelming, you know what I mean? So, like, don't tell them and just deal with the rage of it being underwhelming. Don't set them up to know that there was a better, bigger mode that they're never going to get, and then give them the underwhelming thing. Like, you're not managing any expectations at that point. I don't understand the point of this in any way, shape, or form from, like, any level. You know what I mean? All right, your last one, man.
All right, last one is this one is just like a big eye roll. Doug Bowser went and tweeted about Tears of the Kingdom selling 10 million units in its first weekend from launch. However, in his tweet, he called Hyrule Highland. Don't, my dude. Like, it's not a typo. It's very much, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I hate this whole, we kind of touched base a little bit with this before, this whole gaming exec, like, hey, I'm a cool gamer guy from the gaming company, look at me go.
I got my leather jacket over my button
and the Zeldas.
Yeah.
It's the high place. We have good fun at the high place with Lank.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like, well, especially with, you know, your name's fucking Doug Bowser and you work for Nintendo. Like, you are held to a higher standard, sir.
You know what's sad to me? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt for just a second and say it was a typo. You are president of a multi-billion-dollar company about to send a tweet. Check your fucking work, bro. Like, what are you doing? You know how much money I've made on my game company to date? It's like $70. I go back through my tweets and try to recheck them every time I send something because I don't want to look like a fucking asshole because people don't buy stuff from fucking assholes. I think that, like, just on the level of professionalism, you're sending an official tweet as the president of a company about one of your products. Fucking hit it with Grammarly or some shit, man. Do something. Like,
pass your phone to the person sitting next to you. Hey, does this look okay?
Does this look okay? Something look wrong about this? Like, come on, man. Like, just that's how little they care about us or what we think. He's just like, oh, blah, here we go. Here's a barf. While he's, like, snorting fucking cocaine off a hooker's ass while he's raining his own money down on his head. Like, he doesn't give a shit about us.
That's what happens at the daily at Nintendo.
At the daily, yeah. Send in the next... they don't even have sex with the hookers. They just have them come in so that they can snort cocaine off them. It's like, I only snort cocaine off the finest hookers. Yeah, I've said that on podcasts now. Cease and desist me, Nintendo. Not gonna happen. Company policy at Nintendo.
Knock at your door. They send Mario himself, like Charles Martinet. Let's
do it, Charles Martinet. I'll go 7 rounds with Charles Martinet. I don't give a shit. He's a 50-year-old man. I'll fucking fight him. I don't care. Let's do it, motherfuckers. You'll never take me alive, Switch. Never. Just in my head, there's like an action movie, John Wick style action movie playing of like Doug Bowser holding a gun to my wife's head, like, you will come quietly, and me like, no.
God.
Oh man. He was a fat guy, angry on the internet, and then they came calling. All right, that's it. We're done, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna pause it. We're gonna come back with the little plugs.
Little plugs, small plugs.
Horrible.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the show finally, and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, you got anything special you would like to plug?
Well, we talked about it. At this point, it sounds like who knows what's going to happen with it in the future.
We'll keep playing. We'll keep playing it. I'm not gonna quit on you guys.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how, if the joy does eventually. We'll see. Yeah, we're doing Redfall Down. Very much, I'm having a blast with it just because it evokes the Sonic 06 jank, and I do so adore the jank sometimes, especially when it's how ludicrous it is in this.
It's made for some fun content. Like if you want to know how bad Redfall is, just watch that show. Just 2 episodes of that show, and you will see just how terrible that game is.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a blast at least for me to play. I can't say for
I want to make it very clear. I love playing with you and Kayla. I absolutely love playing with you, Kayla. I love doing the streams that we did. I love doing that. This game is making it very trying for me, but it's fun to play with you guys. As far as plugs on my side, we've got a lot of stuff going on, guys. Both on the TTRPG front and gaming front, we are doing many different things. In addition to Redfall Down, we've got OMGM, where myself and Grandpa Gamer book against each other in WWE 2K23. That show has been a lot of fun, and you guys have sustainably watched it for some time, which is nice. We are also obviously doing the podcast here. I have now many TTRPG things that we are doing. This Friday, I believe our 5th episode of Wizards Respite Sanctorum goes up, where myself and our official partner in TTRPG, Wizards Respite, do a podcast about different RPGs. We just talk about RPG. We pick an RPG each week. We break it down, what the system is, and then we kind of nitpick what we would change about it. It's a fun podcast. I don't know. Have you listened to any of them, Neil?
No, I have not.
Fucking fire.
I know. I've looked at them from time to time because I'm actually waiting. I don't know if I missed it or not, but I'm waiting for the D&D.
We haven't done D&D yet. We haven't done D&D.
I'm waiting for the D&D.
I'm gonna go batshit on that one. So you check that out. That's bi-weekly on Fridays, and you can actually get that where you can get podcasts. So you can just listen to it, kind of like you listen to this show. I'm also doing Getting Over, the game that I created. It is a wrestling simulator, wrestling promoter simulation journaling game that you can play solo or with friends, where you take up the mantle of a wrestling promoter. You book the matches, it generates wrestlers, you get to come up with the stories of the matches. It's a lot of fun. I am right now streaming that with a buddy of mine named Josh every Monday between 1 and 3. I know it's a weird time, it's just scheduling. Please watch it in the background if you want. And then bi-weekly, Astral Drive every other Wednesday. It's been a lot of fun. Myself, Philbilly330, Wizards Respite, and Aether Dios from the old Star Trek Acclaim. We're playing a new game coming out from my company later. That's a lot of fun. I want to do more video game content. Hopefully we will at some point in the future. It's been really hard for me to do reviews for everything I mentioned at the top of the show. And the streaming, I've cut back on the streaming because I need to make some time for myself.
Good for you. Claps for Zach.
Thanks.
Claps for Zach.
It was hard. It was really hard. I'm only streaming on Tuesdays every other Tuesday, and I actually had to stop doing Amateur Hour, which made me very sad, but I had to stop doing it for the foreseeable future. But then there's, of course, Prelude to Divorce. Me and Melissa, we are probably going to be playing Hogwarts Legacy soon, which is very exciting.
That'll be interesting.
Though weirdly, you guys love the Mario Galaxy stuff. I got 119 views on the first episode and 53 on the second. It's crazy.
God damn.
Yeah, people really love the Mario Galaxy stuff that we've been doing. I don't know why.
And that's 50-some views because we record this on Sundays. That's like today.
Well, no, that one hasn't had 50 yet. But last week's had 53, and the one before that had 119. The one before that had 119 before Tuesday, though. So that's
crazy.
Crazy. But we're going to be doing some Hogwarts Legacy, which is a lot of fun on that, too. So check out all that stuff, guys. We appreciate it. You can, of course, contact us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH. You could contact us on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. Links in the description below. Influences and all of our shows from there. And as usual, for better or worse, as long as you keep watching or listening, I will keep making them. I don't know if everybody wants that, but it's happening. See you guys next time. All right, let's do this. Wrap this thing up, man.
There is an update just now to the Nintendo Dolphin emulator thing.
What? What is
just
it?
now? Their excuse as to why they're blocking it. Basically, they said it stifles innovation. Yeah.
It stifles innovation.
The actual quote. I mean, it of course goes into the legal stuff about it. Nintendo is committed to protecting the hard work and creativity of video game engineers and developers.
Oh, yeah.
This emulator illegally circumvents Nintendo's protection measures. Yeah, because you're so hard to hack your shit. And runs illegal copies of games. Using illegal emulators or illegal copies of games harms development and ultimately stifles innovation. Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Nintendo respects the intellectual property rights of other companies and in turn expects others to do the same.
Yeah, hey man, we're protecting the developers that we overwork on a regular basis until they shit their minds out. That's who we're protecting. And I'm going to tell you what has never stifled creativity: content. Content doesn't stifle creativity. It gives you more creativity. It gives you more ideas. But heaven forbid people get access to games that aren't even available on your fucking storefront anymore.
That's the thing. That is the biggest thing in all of that. That's the biggest thing in all of that. It's like, if you gave me a place to buy these things, the Virtual Console was fucking the tits, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go into the Super Nintendo channel on my Wii. I'll give you 10, 15 bucks, 20 bucks sometimes. Let me get Link to the Past. Let me get, whatever. Yeah, sure, cool, great, golden. Ridiculous.
Nintendo, how to be a gatekeeper. If you want to know how to be a gatekeeper, that's Nintendo. Fucking douches. All right, let's plug it.